As Saskatchewan continues to battle one of its worst wildfire seasons, Premier Scott Moe says Canada should consider a national firefighting service.
So the process is there, and we do share the resources that we have. And so the question is, should we nationally, as Canadians, add to that resource pool so that all provinces...
So more than 10,000 people we know have been forced so far to flee their homes as 18 active wildfires burn across the province. Several provinces have sent in fire crews and equipment to help Saskatchewan, but Premier Moe says resources are already being stretched thin. So for more on what a national fire service could do, I'm joined by Paul Boissoneault, Secretary with the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs and Fire Chief for the town of Oakville. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. Thanks for having me.
I'm just going to get you to say hi to me again, Paul, just to make sure that I can hear you and everyone at home can hear you too.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
I gotcha. That's great. Listen, we've heard this message before, and we've heard it from you. You've been on the show a few times calling for this. And we know the United States, the United Kingdom, and the EU all have a national firefighting service. So why doesn't Canada have one?
So we've provided a proposal. We've certainly been in contact with all party stripes. The National Fire Administration that we've looked at would basically be that intersection of information, policy, and resources being spread across nationally, and ensuring that we have the people making the right decisions at the right time and place with the right resources. The National Fire Administration, we would be the only G7 country still without a National Fire Administration, and we have provided government with a turnkey proposal to have the National Fire Administration up and running by the G7 meeting. So we're hopeful that with the new government, with new ministers for the portfolios of emergency preparedness and public safety, that we can gain traction and finally get this off the ground.
Listen, I remember speaking to someone with your association before you spoke to Ottawa. I think it was in the fall, and you were putting forward this proposal, and of course, Parliament was prorogued, and then there were delays. You say you can get this up and running by the next G7 meeting. Do you mean the one that's being held here, like June 7th?
Yes, absolutely. We have the availability to get the administrative pieces in place in a very, very short time period. We recognize that that is not going to put an immediate stop to the challenges that our friends are facing in the prairies and BC and Northern Ontario. We recognize that that isn't going to have, an impact within 30 days. However, we're talking about the ability to get the administrative piece, that national coordination. Premier Moe did speak about that national fire service. The first step is the coordination thereof. More boots on the ground is great, but the coordination of those resources is really the requirement that is going to facilitate an effective response.
Something you've taught me and our viewers here at Your Morning is that 70% of Canada's firefighters are volunteers. Your organization reports that of the 125,000 firefighters in this country, 90,000 of those are volunteers. They have other jobs. So yesterday, we spoke with an evacuee from Saskatchewan about the issue, and here's what she had to say.
These guys are not trained on a wildfire this size. These guys are trained on structures. They're volunteer people. They're teachers. They're rink managers. They are mine workers. They are not equipped, nor should they even be forced to fight something like this.
So I'd love your opinion. How well does this describe the state of firefighting right now in this country?
Our situation in firefighting across this country, you are 100% correct. We have a large amount of volunteers, but that is not unlike what takes place in Australia. I would characterize our volunteers as professional volunteers in the sense that they do train to many of the same standards that our career fire service does, not necessarily the same time and frequency, but to suggest that they are not fully trained, I wouldn't suggest that whatsoever. We have highly trained volunteers and actually very effective volunteer departments. What we're talking about here with wildfires, though, is that intersection between provincial wildland firefighters who are extremely knowledgeable and capable on forest firefighting. But then when it gets into that wildland urban interface setting, now you're dealing with structures and infrastructure, and that's where many of those volunteers and or career firefighters have expertise with the fighting of those and resourced appropriately to fight those buildings and structures. And that's that intersection, and where that resource coordination from a National Fire Administration would really assist in gathering all those resources, making sure that policy meets response, and that we are well prepared. Unfortunately, the 2025 wildfire season was predictable, We've been talking about this now for 3 years, as you've indicated, and really the time is now to make sure that Canada is making that first step, getting this initiated so that we can have an effective response moving forward.
Chief Boissoneault, I just need a really quick answer on this one, but what happens if we don't act this year again?
We're going to keep pushing government. We're going to keep providing data. We are definitely going to ensure that they understand that how critical this is, and that we have a sector that is in crisis, as well as for the country to prosper, for the safety and security of Canadians. This National Fire Administration is an immediate first step that is required.
Fire Chief Boissoneault, always great to have you on. Thanks for coming on again.
Thanks so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too.